Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enemies and friends, welcome to the show that never ends. You are tuned into Really Real Talk with myself, your host, the Everborn, or Everborn Saga, I should say. I don't even know my own name anymore. And I got the homie Kay Asante with me. We are here to get you up to date with what is going on in the world of TV and movies. My friend, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm just like bopping to the beats up in here. That just gets you going when it starts. Oh, come on, man. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
I
What's
see
going
that.
on?
I see that background too.
Oh, we have to represent the batch.
All right, all right, all right. I haven't started that show yet, but
Oh, well, we'll get into it, I think.
speaking of what you're watching,
hmm
what are you watching, good sir?
Oh yeah, I might as well just get into it. Yes, the batch. As I have told you before, the Filoniverse starts slow, but for those who have the ability to wait and soak it all in, it has some really good gems in it. So I've been catching up on that as I've recommended to you. It's really good, but I would wait. I think 3 episodes in now. I would wait till the bingeable package. Then you can really take a chunk. Because if you're not really down with it like that, the first episode's a little slow. A little forward, a little back. It's just how Filoni
Well,
rolls.
let me
It's
ask you a
good. I like it.
question.
hmm
Let me. So I noticed there's this trend with like Amazon, and this is what Disney Plus does. Netflix made a name for itself by releasing entire seasons at once, and you
hmm
binge them.
Yep.
But Amazon and Apple and Disney seem to be taking the approach that they will release on a weekly schedule.
Yep.
What do you think is more effective, and what who should adopt whose model?
Honestly, I think both are valid depending on the show so far. It's more case by case because although I love to binge like Netflix just makes long movies. That's how I look at it sometimes. And if the story warrants it, it's great to just be able to just like take it all in the whole day, an 8 hour stretch or something, depending on the media. But I do see the flip side of it because, like, for instance, when The Mandalorian first started, it was kind of difficult in the beginning. Filoniverse, I say it all the time. He starts slow. So, like, first it was difficult because it was so much potential, but then it's like a 27-minute episode, wait a week. 27-minute episode, wait a week. And then it started getting really good. Then you're just like, come on, I want more. But the flip of that is it keeps people talking. The zeitgeist, for them, it works. So I think it depends on the situation, honestly.
See, but that's the thing. I think when you are a growing service,
hmm
not that Netflix isn't growing, but when you're a growing service, because that works for, like you said, the water cooler conversations, right?
Yeah.
It keeps everyone talking about a series, especially when you don't have content readily available to drop every week, like
Yeah,
say Netflix does.
exactly.
Every Saturday or Friday, whenever they drop it, Netflix has
Mhm.
something new to watch, so they can say, "Here's a whole season," because
Yeah,
we got a new one
that's
next
their
week.
prerogative. They have that ability.
Right, and with I'd say with Disney and like the Amazon Prime is kind of like a shit show. Like they have interesting things, but like I don't think
They
it
haven't
knows what
gotten
it wants to
themselves together
be.
quite yet. They have magic, but they're not a well-oiled machine quite yet. But
Right.
that's Amazon in general, right? They started
Yeah.
off like hodgepodge, and then all of a sudden they took over the world after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Prime should switch to original content only,
Believe it or
but
not, if you think about it, that is Amazon in a nutshell with everything they do. Like in all avenues, every time they touch something, it's a shit show for a while, and then when you're not looking, they take over it. So
yeah, no, no. I mean, they've probably got the most awarded shows out there, right, between Emmys and Oscars. So,
yeah, they do
but
have
it's just
quality. Yeah.
but it's just so much other like garbage there
Yes.
that I feel like it gets lost.
The interface of their systems are terrible. The app is terrible. They've not changed it in a million years. But I digress.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I think because I watched The Mandalorian week to week, the first season, and then the second season I waited till it was over because I couldn't do that same thing you're talking about.
Yep.
But I think I agree. I think there's value in both.
In both systems, yes.
Yeah.
And some would say, "Come on, Filoni, that's not good." But as we saw not too long ago, I think it was like an article just came out Dave Filoni has officially been made the executive creative director at Lucasfilm. So they like
I
something,
put I don't put any stock into that. And I'm
No,
going to tell you why. I mean, it is Disney, so there's some stock, but I don't know if you remember Jeff Johns over at
of
DC.
course I remember Johns. Yeah.
He had the same role for the DC
Hmm.
EU, and how did that turn out? He didn't have the freedom to make the kind
Well,
of decisions that he wanted.
sure.
And Kevin
We'll see where
Feige,
it goes. We'll see where this goes.
before they pushed out Ike Perlmutter, Kevin
Hmm.
Feige couldn't had his hands tied behind his back as well. So we'll see
Yeah.
what he's allowed
Yeah,
to
I
do and
mean,
not do.
like as a guy who's steeped in the Filoniverse, I saw this coming a mile away because while the movies are like vitriolic left and right, whatever you think of them, the conversation is never.
Universally bad.
Yeah, well, while the movies are what they are, depending on what you think of
Universally bad.
your opinion, those who like the Filoniverse, as quiet as they are full throated. Either you love it or you haven't seen it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's
All
and
right.
many people haven't seen it because it's like, oh, look at the animation, oh, look at this, so they don't give it a shot, which is fine because that's not real mainstream Star Wars, right? But if you spend some time in it and you watched it, that's the reason why. And honestly, that's why I can see why they gave Filoni the Mandalorian. He has that ability to get you in as long as you're able to bypass the initial I'm not so into slow. I saw a bunch of those reviews when they first started with the Mandalorian. Oh, I hope this gets better. I'm like, y'all haven't watched the Filoniverse, and then by the end, y'all are fans. That's how it works.
Yeah, but he did also bring in he did
We'll
bring
fight
in
that.
he did
We'll
bring
fight
in
that
all
conversation. I
right.
don't
Anyway,
think you did. Anyway,
go
needless
ahead.
to say.
What else are you watching, sir?
So I'm catching up on the Bad Batch. The new season of Castlevania is on Netflix. I've been catching that. I haven't watched the whole thing. I've been kind of sipping it fine wine style. I still love that animation team. I still love the storytelling. I still think that team is probably the only team to ever give video game properties to because they're the only ones that seem to know how to do it right. So there's that. If you haven't seen Castlevania, do yourself a favor and watch Castlevania. It's really good.
I watched season one. I gotta
It's
get to the
I
other
mean,
season.
it is really good on many levels. They're not cutting corners. They're not, oh, the children, screw the children. And this is how it is. Cut their heads off and stuff. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it'd be nice if Konami could make another Castlevania game.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Yes.
but what else? What else you watching?
And I was gonna start chopping it up about the other Netflix show, but I haven't really watched too much of
What is that? Which one's that?
the Yasuki, the first
Oh
season. I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
watched too much. I've only
I
watched
feel
one
like you're
episode.
not pronouncing it the right way, but
Oh, maybe I
we'll
am.
let that
Maybe
slide.
I am not pronouncing the Yasuki. That's my
Yeah.
pronunciation. Please correct me if I'm mistaken. But
Um,
for those who haven't heard of it, let's see. A quick synopsis. He came from Africa and fought alongside a mighty warlord in feudal Japan. As a black samurai, he became a legend. That was enough for me to get in. I've only watched one episode. It's interesting so far. It's got a little bit of that over exaggerated. It's not as grounded as I like, but I'll give it a chance. But yeah, that and Mask of the Phantasm. We don't need to talk about how great that is because it's great. That's what I've been
yeah.
watching.
So I mean, for me, I haven't been watching much.
Mhm.
Today, I've had on in the background some Berserk because I don't know if you heard this. The
Mm.
Kentaro, the creator of Berserk, sort of
Okay.
passed away earlier this month, along with Paul Mooney, who just
Along
also
with
passed away.
Negrodamus, man. I
Yeah,
had a bad day that day.
I saw him perform live once
Oh,
in
that's
Harlem.
brilliant, man.
Yeah,
That's
he's
amazing.
like one of the best
Mm.
in history. But
When Dave
um,
Chappelle can come out full throated and say you were the greatest, you were the greatest.
yeah, but so shout out to those two legends in the fields that they were
Indeed.
in. But also, other than that, I have not been watching much because I've been playing something that's like a movie, Resident Evil Village.
Yeah, you've been
It's
playing a movie.
yeah, it is probably the scariest horror thing to come out in the last couple of years. I know this is not our Saturday show, but like full throated endorsement, 9 out of 10. I finished it last night. I've
Wow.
been staying up till 2 a.m. all week because I couldn't
What
put it
makes it
down.
what dropped the point? What happened?
Not it's not the drop a point. Like
You can't bring yourself to
that
10.
I don't give
Nothing's a 10.
anything. Nothing's a 10. When I give something a
Understand.
9, that means it's a 10.
That means as close to 10 as I can get. Understand. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And still keep my dignity.
And if I'm not mistaken, you didn't play 7, right?
I did not play 7, and
Okay.
the way with the ending, what they showed, I feel like it would have hit me much harder if I played 7
I think
because
you
it
should
ties.
go back and try it.
I might because it ties back into 7 nicely right
Yeah.
around the end.
And I actually think the reason why I'm saying I think you should go and try it is because you already came out and said that you think it's the scariest thing to come out in a while, and most folks that have played 7 say this is a downgrade from that scary perspective.
But you have to understand, I'm playing this with the Astro A50s at night. Everybody's asleep. It's like past midnight. When you get those sounds in those headphones at night where it's just you and it's completely dark, you tell me it's not scary.
Oh no! Those who are saying that, like I'm when it comes to stuff like that, I am a complete I'm a coward. Forget about it. Like I played Resident Evil 7 in VR. We'll have another.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. Yes. I really, really highly recommend Resident Evil Village, and now I'm going to get back to Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yes, that's what I've been playing.
And watching some TV. But now on to the main event, sir. I don't know if you heard this, but this week it came out. Bloomberg and everybody else is reporting that AT&T is set to spin off Warner Media for just around half of what they paid for them less than 3 years ago. My God, how does a thing like this happen? Now, I want to set the stage for you, sir. AT&T, and I say this as a 15-year AT&T customer. They're one of the worst fucking companies in America. Just absolutely terrible. You know, AT&T has been.
The word's spoken by Everborn Saga. I only represent Everborn Saga in that case.
I'm happy to own it. They can't make my self-service any worse. Now, here's the thing. They have been lying about 5GE for the past.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
4 years.
All of them.
No, this is different. I'm just saying that's the kind of, not that it's pertinent to this conversation, but that's the kind of scumbags they are.
Sure.
Right?
It's
your phone does not have 5G in it. Nope. 5GE. But anyway, like somehow my phone got a update, and somehow the cellular radio got switched in that update from LTE to 5GE. But that's neither here nor there. So AT&T wants to get to get into the content business, and all of the cell phone providers wanted to do this. We've seen the Verizon attempt to start their own thing.
Recently, they also just bowed out and walked slowly backwards.
AOL and Yahoo they bought. All these failed content tech companies, they went in and then they got out because why? It costs so much money to build out the 5G network. They realized they're not built for this, kind of like Google realized they weren't built for gaming and bowed out of that.
Oh, man.
And so because they realized they're, with the event of the iPhone and Android and all that and apps, they realized that they're just dumb pipes and they didn't want to be that. So they said, we want to be able to create and sell content to our customers. And it has failed spectacularly. They are they bought DirecTV, you remember that? And they tried to turn that into AT&T Now, also a failed project. And they thought they were making a big move with the purchase of Warner Brothers, right? And they spent nearly a decade just tied up in court, battling with the former president of the United States about it. All of those things, spent $80 billion. And 3 years later, they're like, psych. Guess that didn't work out.
I don't think it's psych. It's more like the adults showed up and they went, What have you been doing with my credit card? Get the hell out of
Right.
here.
So listen, the moral of the story here, folks, is the bill always comes
Comes
due,
due. Yes,
right?
yes, sir.
So, but here's the thing: we can point out that the CEO that was installed, John Stankey, who
Mm.
pushed out the HBO CEO at the time, who was doing very well things, award-winning
Mhm.
content.
Yep.
AT&T comes in, they want to force a few things because of that sale is the reason, part of the reason why Justice League came out the way it did. All
Mhm.
those things were involved. They basically ran Warner Brothers into the ground because they just came in talking about that swinging their borrowed money around like they're the big dogs and we're going to tell you what
Yep.
to do. You've been around for like 100 years,
And then you
and
check
then
their wallet and see the huge debt, like
right.
huge,
So, but
monstrous debt.
Warner Brothers was one of the most storied studios in all of Hollywood. They were a talent-driven
Yep.
studio, and
Yep.
they drove away the likes of Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve, you
Mhm.
down the all
Oh yeah.
down the road.
And if you notice,
They drove
every
them
time
away.
somebody buys somebody or sells somebody, they lose a bit of themselves. They went from Warner Brothers to WB Media. I think at the end of this, it won't even be WB left. To
No, it's just Warner Media now. The brothers
oh
are
yeah,
gone.
so there you go. The brothers are gone. It's just Warner Media. So will Warner be left when this is all said and done?
It may just be called
It
Discovery
might just
Plus.
be yeah.
So so that's just setting the stage. They
Mm,
alienated their talent.
yep.
They ran IPs into the ground.
Yep. They thought with their business mind and not the creative mind, and it ended up biting them in the butt. Yeah.
Right. And so now they are spinning out the business for
Hmm.
$43 billion over and forming a new company with Discovery, who has a bunch of channels, and they want to merge that together. And this will include the likes of CNN and
Hmm.
HBO and
Hmm.
all that. By the way, AT&T did all of this for HBO Max, which turned out to be what? There's some good day and date movies there.
Yeah, what I will tell you is HBO Max is woefully underrated because they have a terrible marketing budget. Like, first off, they need to make the app better. They need to make it global because it's only in the States right now and
Oh,
in a few other markets. And the promotion is not
but
really there,
here's
but
the
the
thing:
actual substance, the stuff is pretty
anyone
good.
anyone who likes HBO Max, it's
Mm.
because of this day and date thing, and that is not lasting after
Well,
this
no, no, no,
year.
no, no. I was subscribed to HBO Max before the whole day and date thing
So was I.
hit. But
So was I.
my reason for it is because I liked the DC connection. I liked the DC, like the library of DC shows that were there, and lots of
It's
shoot.
but
I got to
they're
rewatch a bunch
still
of the Fresh Prince. You know,
they're still
it's some good
not
libraries in
even
there.
they're still not even utilizing
Most of their
like
assets, yeah, in
right,
their
like
libraries, yeah.
they're not look at the way Disney Plus maximizes that Marvel connection and has those shows and is working to put
Well,
all of
but
the
you
movies and
can't
old TV
compare the two
shows
of
there.
them. Disney's a well-oiled, money-making,
That's
creative
fine,
machine.
but
You
you
know,
own all these Warner Brother products. It's not like with Disney where they have to go around the place and get licensing rights and
sure,
all.
you
They
own a
own
bunch of them.
all of
Yes,
it,
yes, yes.
so those things could be there. But
Yep.
so the point is, the service is uninteresting. It is not, especially when you launched a few months after Disney Plus, and Disney Plus has already skyrocketed past 100
My,
million, and you are
I hear
at
you,
less than 20 million.
but see, again, the thing I think is a problem there. There is a problem there, 100%. But I honestly think that theirs is a death by a thousand cuts because even though they're a fledgling service, they have so much good media in there. Unlike the Netflix when Netflix started way back in the day, even unlike when Disney Plus started, because initially when Disney Plus started, you had what Disney had, but it was stale for a while. HBO Max came out the gate with great content. Their problem, and still their problem, their apps suck. They barely get you 720p,
Let me stop
while
you.
other apps are got all of the bells and
I'm going
whistles.
to stop you right there.
Please.
HBO Max costs 15 goddamn dollars a month.
Exactly,
There's
exactly.
no excuse.
No, but
There's no
that's exactly
anything.
my point. I'm
And
agreeing with you.
the reason it costs $15 a month is because AT&T was trying to pull blood from a stone
Yes,
because they
I am
didn't have
agreeing with you.
money.
Indeed, indeed. It's the substance there is good. They were just handed by they were dealt with by a bad landlord.
What original shows did HBO Max bring you that were
Well, no, no,
interesting?
no. It's not HBO Max specifically. I'm talking HBO. The Max
But
part is
HBO
ridiculous.
was already there. That's not, you can't count that.
Well, okay. What original shows?
I
If you weren't watching, what do you call it? Oh my goodness! Now, of course, you put me on the spot, and the name escapes me. But Doom Patrol. I love Doom Patrol. It's such a good show that nobody watches. That's
They
one
pulled it
DC
off
show.
from a different service that also failed.
True, true. As is the other great, what do you call it? DC show, which not Justice League.
Swamp
My
Thing.
brain keeps
That was
not
another
Swamp
one
Thing.
that was good.
Not
But you
Swamp
should
Thing.
watch it if you didn't.
Yes, I did. But
So
needless to say, they were bringing together all of DC properties in one place, right? And you could go there, and in addition to all this other stuff that's the fledgling stuff that's been pulled from all the various parts of the Warner Empire, all in one place. Like I said, I totally rewatched a bunch of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I have not been able to do for years. So I thought that was absolutely awesome. The service itself, like in isolation, the service is great. Price needs adjusting, app needs adjusting. They need better management.
let's be
So I
clear.
don't disagree with you.
So
AT&T
so
mismanaged it.
so bad apps,
Mm-hmm.
right? Overpriced,
Mm-hmm.
lacking original content,
Yep.
only available in the US.
Yep. Well,
And
only available in the U.S.
that's what
Asterisk. It is
AT&T,
available in other markets as well,
what
but
you have to,
not by
okay,
itself. Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's what AT&T spent $80 billion for. They're $100 billion in debt after they get this $43 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed.
now that they're out of there. Hopefully they haven't permanently damaged Warner Brothers as a studio, and hopefully the people that lost their jobs in that process can get their jobs back.
Yeah. I
But
hope so
we
too.
don't know.
Yep.
Then there's
It
the
should be
issue
interesting.
of
You
what
know,
they're going to do with the games division, which is a whole other conversation that
whole different conversation.
we
Yes,
can talk about that
we'll
on
chop that one on
Saturday if you like.
Saturday. Indeed.
Now I want to transition to the next topic, which is even now, because everybody sees money. I want to tell you, this is something I learned growing up in the Bronx, right? I lived in the Caribbean area of the Bronx. I don't know, Gun Hill Road, Boston Road, that area, White Plains Road. And one thing I always noticed that I hate is that anytime somebody saw someone open up something like a barber shop or a mechanic or a restaurant, somebody else in the neighborhood was look at that and say, "See, look at them over there getting money.
Hating.
I can get some of that money too. I'm gonna open up my business across the
The
street."
street. That's
Right?
haters.
Right. So this is what happened in the streaming space. Everybody licensed their content to Netflix. Then they saw how much money Netflix was making,
So
and
smart.
then
So smart.
everybody turned themselves
Yes.
into pretzels,
And
trying to
did you see
compete
what
with
Netflix
Netflix.
did? Netflix was like, "Oh, we see it happening. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna start like allocating $1 billion budget for original content.
Yeah.
And so as soon as everybody takes their ball and goes home, guess what? We have new ball."
No, they are spending, I think, something like $7 billion on original content. They've committed to 2021 to having a new release every year, every week,
Yes.
52
And,
weeks, every week
and
is
let's
a
be
new
clear,
thing.
not all of them are trash.
No, but this is my point. Like, you can just say, "I'm doing Netflix for the weekend." That's it. Every
That's right.
weekend,
Yeah.
there's something new for you to watch.
Mhm.
Now, the other services can't say that. So, but I say all that to say we've seen these services coming. You remember Quibi?
Okay, don't talk to me about Quibi. I have full disclosure. I used to work for the company whose CEO eventually became the Quibi CEO, and so as soon as I saw that happen, I was like, Meg Whitman Get out of here. That show's not gonna last for 5 minutes. Get out. They spent $1 billion on it, and that thing lasted 6 weeks. I'm like, go ahead, take your money.
Right? What's happening with CBS All Access?
Yeah, isn't that gonna become like Paramount Plus or something? Like, isn't that gonna?
They shifted Halo over that too. I was kind of upset about the
I'm
Halo
quite
TV
upset.
series.
Yeah, because that's probably the only thing I want to see on that.
Unless they did it because it's going to be a marquee thing, but I think Showtime just wanted to shift it off of their books because they looked at it and was like, this is not going to work.
Been a problem for too long.
Yeah. So my point is, we've seen all these companies come and say, I'm going to be the next Netflix. This is going to be the Netflix killer. And what do? They fall on their faces.
Flat on their face.
Right? Fox couldn't compete, so they had to merge. Right? And Warner Brothers, they've always been in all of these households through cable providers, and they were trying to, and that's the other problem. They were alienating their cable customers. The reason HBO Max costs so much is because they have to keep price parity with what people pay in their homes, because they get a cut of every cable subscription, whether you have HBO or not.
See, and that brings me to a bit, when you were having this conversation, that brings me to a bit of an epiphany. When this whole thing first started, and they started buying stuff up left and right, like at the time I had Verizon service, Fios service, and they were starting to buy things up left and right. And I don't know if you recall, net neutrality was a big thing at that time. And everybody was saying, hey, don't complain. Don't force them to be dumb pipes. Eventually, the market will work itself out. And I was like, there's just no way that's going to happen. And for a while, it wasn't that way. Because I will tell you, the tech guy will tell you that if you watched Netflix, you weren't getting a good, solid connection. But if you watched the Verizon equivalent at the time, solid connection. They were doing that.
Cell phone companies are all scum.
Oh, yeah.
Not as bad as the power companies like Con Ed.
But they are, but they're on that level. But my epiphany is, say what you will, but I guess it did work itself out. They bought all that stuff up, started prioritizing their own content. Obviously, their content was crap, and now they're being forced to sell everything and get rid of it. So they're becoming dumb pipes, whether they like it or not. It is what it is.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So again,
you really think that Netflix and Disney Plus will take all of this away? Like this is going to be eventually, no one's going to even compete. It's going to be the Netflix and Disney Plus. If you want a subscription, that's what you get. Well, okay, Netflix, Disney Plus / Hulu.
I will. Why don't you ask that to Windows Phone? Or
no blow, bro.
No blow. I'm just saying.
WebOS. Oh, you hurt me. he knows the daggers to use.
My point is like and this is like Linux is only around still because of enterprise.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yep,
so in any given market, the market can bear two, and the third player has to be a niche, sort of off doing their own thing kind of player, but it's really always two. Yep. Right.
No, I agree.
So what everyone knows this. Anyone doing market research can tell you this.
Well, I agree with you that there's always two. But I guess my question is, you really think those are going to be the two that stand after it's all? I mean, Netflix, okay, but Disney Plus, are you sure?
Let me school you real quick.
Please.
I think that, but I'm going to come to that point in a second. But I just want to finish the first thought, which is everyone, and I mean everyone, is fighting for third place. That's what every other streaming service that you see is fighting for, and that to me is, no matter where you end up, a losing battle. So there's that.
Well, but third place is pretty lucrative still, though.
I'm sure it is, but no one expects to be number one, and I think the market is unfortunately set, and barring Disney or Netflix making monumental mistakes or going bankrupt, I think that's it. And then whoever else is the niche player.
Okay. Okay.
And
I can see that.
and and Disney, you see what Disney has done with Disney Plus is created the Toyota Camry of streaming services, right?
Explain.
It is dependable. You know what you are going to get. There'll be regular releases. It's a known quantity. You don't have to think about it. It's for
I
the
agree with
everyman.
you there.
And
There's
hang
just
on.
the adult content part is a little bit.
Yeah, here's the thing. That's the point. They don't want adult content
Well,
there,
but that's
right?
my reason
And
for it not being the end all be all. You always
do
need
you,
another
what
thing.
you,
You know what I'm saying?
wait, hold on. Let me ask you a question. Do you think people are going to stop having kids? Right? Is it
Yes, I get you.
so that is a market that will continue to be there for you. Children, right? Me and you
Sure.
are going to get old. We're going to get tired of this stuff one day, maybe, or just too busy taking over the world to pay attention to all of this stuff,
Mhm.
right? And so we may have less time for Netflix, but kids got nothing but time, and they just
Sure.
want to watch TV.
Sure.
So that's the reason you get to 100 million
I do see
subs.
that. I will
And
give you that because if you check the number one shows of the whatever of the week, every week there's always at least one, if not two or three, ridiculously no business being there child shows that are still like on the top
yeah,
of the map because
and
that's
again,
what they do.
because
Yeah, I see.
day daycares play it in the
That's
background.
right. That's right.
People put
Yeah.
it on. People are not even watching these things. It's just
No,
like
it's
it's
just
just
in the
there,
background. Yeah, it's
right?
watching them.
Right.
Yes,
And so
indeed,
it
indeed.
might actually be watching them.
Yes.
That's
No,
another
but
show.
okay. But my question is, no Prime, Amazon, man. You don't know as you know, they
Okay,
bumble their way into first place all the time. They did
here
so with e-commerce. They did so in the server stack space. They did. They're now gearing towards Prime. You know,
Amazon Prime Video is a bonus that you get with your Prime subscription service for shipping.
and that's
Take
how they've
away
always marketed
take
it.
away the shipping part of it,
Mhm.
and nobody signs up for that shit.
Not yet.
Nobody.
But yes, but that's today. Remember back in the day, Amazon. I remember the conversations about how is Amazon even making money, and now they're making money. Eventually, they bumbled their way into first place.
Okay,
Right now,
what?
you're 100%
Yeah,
right.
listen. Apple's in first place in everything they do, and look how look. Tell me, give me your assessment of Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus is potential, but that's about it for now. There's some gems here and there. They're being very selective with their choices, which is good because supposedly every choice they've made so far, as far as content on there, has been pretty great. They're also basically giving it away to everybody because if you buy a new phone, which most Americans do, it comes with a year or I think of Apple TV Plus. So you know it's kind of one of those. We're not quite sure yet, but again, they just started, so they're not really competing on that level yet. I don't think, but they do have potential. You know, I
Mo-
hear some of
mo-
their
mo-
shows are award content contenders and whatnot, which
So's
is
Amazon. The point is,
well, but
these big tech
that's surprising
companies.
for a new fledgling subscription service. You know,
All I'm saying is these big companies come in swinging around their money wallets and thinking that they can just
what they
come in
swinging
and walk
around?
into this. Listen, it's a kid. I'm trying to keep it a kid friendly show, but their wallets. They're swinging
Yeah,
around their wallets, and they think that they can just walk into this business and take it over like it's another tech
and they
problem, and it
learn
doesn't
different every
work
time.
that way. It does not work that way. So
Yeah.
that we, I'm just kind of tired of seeing that. But
Yeah, I agree.
I'm saying all of this to say, even putting Discovery and Warner Media together, unless they have a cohesive plan, which it doesn't look like they do, they don't even have a name for the new
Yeah.
company yet. What was Discovery Plus? I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
Right?
I heard of Discovery Plus. I mean, it came out. I would say it released a month, 2 months ago. I saw a review of it. Even the CEO of the company was saying like we see ourselves as a good additive. You know, they see themselves as like, hey, you know, Netflix is your main, and you can have us as well. They know that they're there to be a supporting character, and they're okay playing that position. You know, so as soon as I heard that, I'm like, you're not trying to get subscribers. Something going down. This was probably in the works when that conversation was had about that CEO, because those words were a little bit like, y'all coming out brand new and you're already trying to take second place. Like you're trying to be, we're a niche.
Third place.
Yeah,
Third place, not second place.
Like it was a little suspicious how they described themselves when they first started Discovery Plus. So I guess this information kind of solidifies why,
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is, I think that this story is not over yet, right? Because we have to understand the nature of this this sort of new company that has been formed, or this whole deal.
The merger.
Is right. All this is the new company is willing to take on most of this. A lot of it cast didn't exchange hands. They're spinning out this company and saying that this company can take on that debt. So it takes it off of the AT&T books.
Yep.
And that
to
company,
my understanding, even after that merger, AT&T will still have substantial amount of debt left, right?
oh, tons.
I thought so. Yeah.
Tons.
Okay. I'm sorry. Continue.
Right. So, and then even that entity, who is just really like this whole thing feels like a money laundering scheme. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
But even a legal money laundering scheme,
right,
for sure.
That remains to be seen.
They're cleaning up.
We'll see how Merrick Garland looks at this. Now, look, the thing is, even at that point, the AT&T shareholders still hold 71% ownership in this new entity.
Company. Yeah,
and they can in turn sell that. And that's why there are rumors that Disney might buy WB, which Disney can't afford to make any moves right now. They got to get things off the ground. But I don't know if you remember this. Universal, who was the thorn in the side of Disney when they were trying to buy Fox, and they wanted to get in there with AT&T, and Universal just seems like can't get right. Right?
They got money. They just don't know what to do with it.
They have debt too. It's just not as bad as AT&T.
Not as bad as them. Yes.
But they even got a piece
sniffing around.
They got a piece of like, it feels like it was kind of a payoff, right? Because now they owned a part of Hulu, and that somehow is getting transferred back to
a small part of it at some point, and then they sold it all off and gave it to
so they all sold it back. Warner Brothers sold their part back first. They had 10% first because they didn't want to. They were already hurting for money, so they're just selling things left and right. That happened in 2019 or 2020, something like that, and then Hulu was the next piece to fall, where they entered into a deal where Disney would control the whole thing, and then after a certain time period.
What do you think of Hulu? What is your experience with Hulu?
I pay Hulu $107 a month. That's what I think about it.
Seriously, I cannot bring myself to get another subscription service, no matter how much.
Let me clarify that.
I hate the idea of paying and still having ads.
I cut the cord, right?
As did I.
Right, but I got Hulu. It was supposed to be $50 a month, but when you pay, you got to pay another $10 for unlimited screens, right? And I got two houses, so we share it between the two houses, big family, and we can put it on unlimited screens, and I get my HBO subscription through that.
Okay,
and that gives me access to HBO now. So that's not like another service. So I just look at it like it's I still have cable.
One service is consolidated.
It's just through the internet. Okay. And this is just so I can have live TV on top of the other streaming apps. But I subscribe to Funimation. I'm paying Hulu all this damn money. I don't even know if I'm paying Apple yet, because I get a new phone every year. But Apple, anyway. I don't want to get started on Apple. The point is, I got a lot of these services.
We got to start consolidating. Guess what?
Right.
So, as you said, pretty soon there'll be this great service. It's going to be called the bundle.
Right. No, but I say this to say Universal could be circling the waters to buy this new Warner Discovery Plus company and put that all together into one streaming thing that
Why
could
does everything
hopefully
have to
take
end
on,
up being streaming
because
thing?
you can't compete with Disney or Netflix. They're too
Why
large at
try?
this point.
Don't try. They'll take your. They'll
But
like.
they'll
And
eat
here's my.
you. You
Well,
will
no. Here's
die.
my thought. Here's my thought. Just like back in the day when all the other companies were content with like Netflix paying them big dollars to have their content, why can't just like what is it? Sony recently made that deal where instead of their own service, they're now in bed with Netflix for X amount of years, and they're also doing Disney Plus, depending on what content it is. Right. The question is, why can't this Universal deal end with, hey, we have this, but instead of being another subscription service that we're going to try and get consumers to buy into, we're just going to license our content like the olden days, and it'll keep our wallets fat, and we don't have to deal with any of this.
Because shareholders. What did I say? It's a barbershop, and you looking at
And
them
you know how
getting
that's going to
money,
end.
and you're saying, why can't I get this money? I have
You know
content.
how that's going to end. You know they know how this is going to end. Like you've already said, the environment is mature. You got your Netflix, your Disney Plus came out hot and heavy. So I see you. You know, it's hard to think that they are a small bit player when they're at that high a clip at this point. So why bother? Like I actually think this whole Discovery idea being signed to Universal might be a great idea, right? It might bring
I
them
don't.
back to their. You don't think so?
Nope.
You don't think so? I think it might bring them back. It's better than them still being stuck under AT&T.
Sure. I'll give
I
you
think it
that.
might bring them back to their more creative prominence rather than being a number on a line for AT&T to shuffle around back and forth. It's just
I
they need to make better ideas, need to think about better ways of getting their content to the people rather than, hey, once again, now we have to add another subscription service to. It's not going to work. Just like Paramount Plus, it's just not going to work. You know, you disagree?
I agree that it's not going to work, but they're going to do it anyway,
Anyway,
right? And that is what brings us to the final topic of the night, which is the risks of market consolidation. This goes
which is the flip
this
side of my
goes
argument.
right. This goes, which was a nice segue, by the way. I don't know if you planned that, but
No, I
but
did not.
good,
But well done.
good on you, sir. So we sort of cheer these things on a lot, right? Like we say, "Oh, cool. We get to see a Marvel versus sorry, an Avengers versus X-Men movie, right? Cool. Just let's cheer on the big multinational conglomerate taking over another company, consolidating, um, streamlining, overlap, which is just corporate speak for people losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And we see now Disney, who's a very sort of controlled company, and I love the MCU. I love what they're doing there, but they have made their business out of identifying their audience and continually feeding them what they want. They are not sort of risk takers in the way that I'm just saying you won't see the variety of content, right? If you look at the number of movies that Disney releases every year versus the other studios, and you'll see they are for bigger, lower count but bigger movies, right? And those smaller movies kind of go away in that. Right, and we lose that creativity in a thing like that just because we get to see what Kevin Feige is going to do with the X-Men, right? So there's a real cost to these things, and it's the same cost that we're seeing play out right in front of us with this AT&T thing. $80 billion you pay for AT&T. Now you're shifting it off as debt to this Discovery thing, which is going to try and likely fail, and then it'll get broken up into pieces even further. You pointed out how they keep losing pieces of their name. It's a 100-year-old company. They were Warner Brothers, then they were WB, Warner Media now. Now this new
Mm-hmm.
thing doesn't even have a name. How many people are lost their jobs as a result of the AT&T buyout, and then how many more people are going to lose jobs when they mix them, when they shove it off to Discovery, who I don't know how they're going to put together a service. But let's say that, and if they don't, then what? These shareholders are going to come in, do some kind of whatever
Restructuring.
they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Restructuring, leverage buyout, all
Mm-hmm.
of this shit's gonna happen,
Oh,
and
and
more people are
just
gonna
a quick
lose.
aside, we have White Walker 1188 in the chat saying Disney Plus has released some smaller movies over the pandemic. There is that dragon, the dragon one in Soul. Don't say
Oh,
Soul.
oh, don't
You're triggering the man. Don't
don't
say
give me
Every
so
time you say Soul, it turns into a different conversation.
excuse me. So, but the point is,
Mhm.
like, we see these things happen, and maybe it's just the nature of the business, or business in general, or capitalism. These things happen, but even when we talk about, like, in the video game world, like Microsoft buying out studios, you don't know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
You don't know if shareholders are going to have a change of mind and say,
Indeed.
this video game thing isn't working out. We tried, we put
Yeah.
money
Peace
in,
out. We're done.
and then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then what happens to all of those your favorite studios that you're pushing Microsoft on to buy? So
You are absolutely right about that. You are right. When it comes to Microsoft, though, I honestly think that people have a lot more faith more in the personalities that have stepped forward as representatives of the gaming space. And so
Nokia,
far that but no, but at that time they were not the same Microsoft.
Aquantic,
But they weren't the same Microsoft.
Skype.
Don't use historical information. They were
Like,
not
the
the same
list
Microsoft.
goes on and on. I'm
No,
just
no, but
saying.
remember, they were not the same Microsoft. Like Phil Spencer's Xbox is a different beast. It
I'm
is.
saying What
You
I'm
know.
saying is, how many times do we have to see this play out before we get hit to the game? We watched it with Stadia,
Mm,
right? And then Jade Raymond had to go to Sony after they
yeah,
made all kind of promises there,
it is
right?
what it is. Yeah, consolidation.
What's gonna happen with Luna? Like Iron something, the
Galaxy.
studio that made Iron Galaxy. What happened with them, right? What are they?
They eventually they're still around. They got tired of being a
What?
support studio and they're making their own thing now.
Okay, all right. Because
They're
they
still around.
didn't
Yeah.
Amazon pick them up?
At some point, but I think they spun them out. They spun them out. Iron
Okay.
Galaxy, because Adam Boyes is a co-CEO of Iron Galaxy currently, from ex Sony guy.
Okay.
But we diverge from
Yeah,
video game
no.
talk.
But my point is,
Mhm.
right? We
No,
keep
I
seeing
see your
this
point
play
though. The
out,
consolidation is problematic. It is
but
definitely
it's
problematic.
the consolidation is happening for people who are flirting.
Mm.
They just see money. They know nothing about the business, but they have money, so they come in, and the cost is you lose creativity, you lose content that you love. Your properties get mismanaged. Real people, lose their jobs from this consolidation, and we
Yeah.
just say, yeah, go ahead, buy and put it all together, right?
So
Maybe we shouldn't.
what's the alternative?
These things, a lot of them wouldn't happen if the public wasn't so on board with them,
Well, but come
right?
on,
Like,
you can't let the public be your barometer because they're always scattershot. They don't know what they want. People don't know what's good for them until it's too late, right? Do you think there should be like regulation that governs all this consolidation? Because this is the movie and TV
let me
space,
stop you
but this
right
is
there.
happening everywhere.
Yes, there should be regulation. There is regulation around it. That's why all these things have to go through
Through regulatory
reviews,
hurdles. But
right? But
in the
we
last
are,
recent however many years, haven't they just rubber stamped everything? They have been doing that.
and I'm saying that is the problem.
Okay.
I'm saying the larger these companies get,
Yeah,
the
the
less,
more clout they have, and the less that anybody can push them. I
right,
hear
and
you.
they become so big, and if they want to get out of a business, fine.
Mm-hmm.
The market will figure out whether it's going to work or not. But what about the people in between all that? And what about the art that suffers
Yeah,
from
they get
these things?
stepped on in the middle of
So
it. Yep.
so I keep coming back to this point. It's not always a good thing. And you can say, look, if Disney acquires an IP, maybe they're going to treat it right because.
Mhm.
But then you look at the Star Wars movie.
No, I do agree
But
with you that leaving it up to the grace or the personality is a problematic way, because you're one job away from a Don Matrick taking over for my game references.
right.
So
So
the rules need to be a bit more ironclad so that no one, whether good or bad, can flounder the way they are right now. And I don't know how they get back to that though.
I mean that's the problem. Because I'm definitely not advocating saying breaking these things up, because
Mm,
that's a whole other like can of
mhm,
worms. But like
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if even if it's something that it's a fact of life and we have to live with it,
Mhm.
perhaps we shouldn't be cheering it on so much. I know so many people that are like, oh, maybe Disney will just buy Sony, and then that's how they'll get Spider-Man back.
Yeah.
Like, you
That's
know what I
that,
mean?
that yeah.
Like
I
how?
would I would honestly, I have
Let
some problems with with the way Sony's business practices, like the way they do things, but we need to have a Sony. They need to be what they are.
I would
It would be a
argue. I
travesty.
would argue we needed to have a Fox, and I'd argue that
I agree.
you need a Warner Brothers, and I don't know what's going to happen to Warner Brothers after.
Yeah, it is sad. I don't disagree. It is quite sad. The world as we know it is shifting beneath our feet, and in a few years, all those staples will no longer exist. Not, at least not as we've known them. Those tried and true things aren't as tried and true as they used to be anymore. And you're absolutely right. The people at large should stop with the fandom, stop being so busy with the fandom and see beyond the trees a bit and see what's actually happening.
I mean, I think it's fine being a fan. It's just weird when you're a fan of a
Well, they
company,
go too far. They
and
overdo it.
not a story or
Yeah,
an IP. I get
sure,
being a fan
sure.
of an IP, but the
Yeah,
company itself, I don't know.
folks put their identities in these things at some point,
Right
and that just
now,
becomes a little too problematic.
here's the other thing. I'd be remiss if we did not mention
Mm.
this. It could very well be the case
Hmm.
that all of these companies that we think are just money hungry are actually fighting for their corporate lives, right? Um, and the and when I say that to say, if they know that the future is streaming, if they know that we're on a downward trend, and all people want to do is stay home, they don't want to go
Yeah.
out to what is called the poor man's opera, the theater, right?
Yeah.
The mid-budget movie is gone, so you can only make very low-budget movies,
Mhm.
shoestring budgets, which are usually like these horror sort of genre pieces, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Or you have to make the big uh, $250 million tentpole movies, which all are owned by like two studios, and only one of them is doing it well.
Mhm.
And um, and there's nothing in between, right? Everything else in between, which is the kind of movies that all the other studios make, those are in the streaming business, and they don't have a platform to release those. So they may say, if we no longer have theaters to rely on, maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, what
Mhm.
happens to our business? Because the secondary market is not lucrative enough for them to make the
What did you say?
content.
10, 15 years? I don't think it's that far
It could be
away.
less. It could be
It's
less.
far less. Yeah.
COVID
COVID
uh,
has jump started.
is right.
Mark my words, because of COVID, I've said this, and I may take a L, but COVID is turning the video gaming, the movie theater market into arcades. This will be the time when they'll go, it became niche. And then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, they started like dwindling away. It's
Yeah, and
happening already.
you're only going to go to IMAX theaters
Yep.
to
Only the
see
big
the
dog ones.
Avengers,
Indeed.
right?
Indeed. Yes. Yes.
And so all of these companies that don't happen to own the Avengers,
Hmm.
right?
Get kicked out of the market.
What are they going to do? So
Mhm.
they feel like they need to be a
Yeah.
player in that space so that they have an avenue to release their content. Or guess what? They're just going to get bought up too, and
Yep.
that's the sad reality of it. So what do what do they do,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, sure. And then they have to get more creative. Oh, let me address real quick what White Walker's saying again. He's absolutely right. Specifically, the one you just put up here, the one marketplace consolidation. Good guys become bad. The good
Oh
companies
yeah,
become
yeah,
bad ones.
yeah.
Same Netflix, 100%. When that first net neutrality war started, they weren't as big dog as they are now. So they were in the picket signs, net neutrality for all. When it happened the second time around, well, Netflix feels that the companies can handle things the way they will. We don't need any rules because then by then they were the tip of the spear in the streaming game. The
Oh
minute they
yeah.
were tip top dog, they no longer they put down the picket sign and they were like, we don't
Yeah, it's
think
the
we need
same
those
thing with
rules.
Epic. You think Epic is fighting for the little developer? They're
Oh
not,
no,
right?
they're just using those guys as chess pieces in their game. Oh yeah,
Right. So again, it all comes back to like maybe this is inevitable, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the eventuality of capitalism is just one major corporation that owns everything, right?
So depressing. And then we all live in VR and we live in a box because you don't
Yeah,
need to
why
see
not?
anywhere outside. Everything is
Yeah,
like you live in a mansion in VR,
that's it.
and
So
and everything goes through that one company,
and that is the Matrix prequel. But
basically.
so I mean that's really I mean there's more to say on it, but that's all I want to say
No,
here
I
about it
hear you.
tonight.
It's a little depressing. It's a little depressing, and there's not much we can do about it, unfortunately. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and listen, could be the Universal comes in, scoops them up, and then you got three major players. Maybe that'll be good. Maybe that, but I don't, but maybe Warner Brothers will just get sold off piecemeal, and then your favorite DC characters will get licensed off all over the place, like what happened to Marvel.
Mm.
And
And then
that
20 years later or something, everybody's kicking themselves. Damn it, where's that Spider-Man?
20 years later, Disney owns it all,
Owns it
right?
all,
And
absolutely
and
all.
and
Yes.
then and then Apple buys Disney.
Oh my God, don't say that. That's terrible. That's terrible. You don't want that. Come on now. Now, can Apple buy Disney?
They wanted to.
Well, these days, I think that's more possible. At the height when
Apple has enough cash in the bank to buy Disney.
yeah, well, especially now with the pandemic being what it was, and people weren't going to parks and movie theaters are closed, which Disney makes most of their money in theaters and the parks. So they are at a strapped situation. So I do see that, but wow, that idea is just crazy to me. Like that would be the ultimate consolidation move. If that happened, I would hope that some regulatory body would step in and say, "Come on, guys, this is a little too much."
Yeah.
If Apple tried to buy Disney, that would be because it's not just Disney, because Disney themselves are a consolidation of so many other things. And if Apple just was able to do that, that would be monstrous. Wow. Yeah. Now you got me worried. Dang, that would be good.
All right. So tell the fine
On that
folks where they
wonderful
can.
note.
Yeah. Tell these fine folks where they can find you.
You can find me always chopping it up in chat rooms, and I'm usually on Twitter, K_Asante. Um, I will throw one thing at you real quick before we conclude. I was thinking about it, and I didn't talk to you beforehand, so this is a little homework here. First, quick question: have you ever seen the movie Attack the Block?
I did, and they're making a part two.
I
John
know.
Boyega.
What did you
Yeah,
think of Attack the Block?
I have thoughts. Let's save that for next week.
Okay, we'll talk about that one next week.
We'll talk about it
Anyway,
on
so
Twitter.
there's your homework. We have a conversation about Talk the Block next week. Indeed. All right. Yes, you can find me online, K_Asante. I appreciate everybody joining, and this is a great conversation, and we'll talk again soon. How about you, man, Mr. Everborn?
All right, you can find me at Everborn Saga just about everywhere: Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but most importantly, everbornsaga.com, where you can get yourself some Everborn merch, like the shirt you see me wearing or the poster in the background, but more importantly, the comics we are putting together. We've got Prince of Arcadia 1 through 3 there right now. Ariel's Adventure will be out next month, and so will, following that, Prince of Arcadia Chapter 4, and we're getting ready to launch a new series. So really cool series. Just check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. Everbornsaga.com and Everborn Saga everywhere else. And I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. and whoever watches this on the replay. And do us a favor, share this out, hit the like button. Let's
Subscribe. We
yeah,
appreciate it. Give us some
let's
comments. We
do
appreciate
all.
you.
We appreciate all of those comments. And White Hawk, I know you've been with us every week so far, so we appreciate you.
We appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Special shout out. And yeah, we are just about out of here.